So, when you're getting ready to give a speech, you probably obsess over everything, right? The words, the slides, the delivery. But what if I told you that your most powerful tool is the one you're not even thinking about? Yep, it's your facial expression. And it is a quiet superpower that can honestly make or break your entire presentation before you even say a single word. I mean, really think about that for a second. What if your face, with the absolute best of intentions, is actually telling your audience that you're bored or maybe even angry? It's a wild thought, but you know what? It happens all the time. And it all starts with something I like to call the neutral face problem.
All right, so let's dig into this neutral face problem. It's basically this huge gap between what we feel as speakers, which is usually, just focused and thinking, and what our audience actually sees when they look at us. And trust me, those two things are rarely the same.
And here's where the disconnect happens. On the inside, you're in the zone. You're concentrating. You're trying to remember your next point. Your face feels totally neutral. But your audience, they can't see what's going on in your head. They just see a blank expression, and their brains are wired to interpret that as boredom or disinterest or heck, even hostility. What they see is a total lack of connection.
So, what's the fix for this? Well, the answer is deceptively simple. It's all about consciously using a smile to kickstart this powerful positive feedback loop with your audience. Let's break down how this actually works, because it's pretty cool.
Now, hold on. We're not talking about some huge, fake, cheesy grin here. This is what we call the intentional smile. Just think of it as a warm, gentle expression that kind of says, hey, I'm glad to be here with you all. It's not a command for them to be happy. It's more like an invitation for everyone in the room to just relax. And that simple invitation, it triggers this fascinating chain reaction. Just look at these steps. It all starts with you. First, you offer a warm smile. The audience sees that. They feel a little safer, and they start to relax, often smiling back without even realizing it. That's step two. Then, and this is the magic part, you see their warm reaction, and suddenly your intentional smile becomes a real one. You genuinely start to feel more confident and actually enjoy the moment. And here's the key. Timing is everything. Kicking off this loop the second you get up to speak is the secret sauce. Even if you're nervous, even if it feels a little forced for the first few seconds, that initial smile puts everyone in the room at ease so much faster. I get it. This might all sound a little too easy to actually be effective. So let's look at a true story that shows just how transformative this one tiny little change can be. So picture this. We have a speaker with a case of stage fright so severe, he almost bolted from a training session. The only thing he could agree to was to read word for word from a piece of paper for just 30 seconds. That's it. His first attempt, it was tough to watch. His eyes were just glued to the paper, his shoulders were all hunched over, and his entire vibe just screamed, I would rather be anywhere else but here right now. And you could feel it in the room. The audience got tense right along with him. He wasn't just feeling the stress, he was broadcasting it out into the room, creating this thick atmosphere of discomfort for everybody. Okay, so then he tried again. Same reading, same words. But this time, they give him one tiny piece of advice. Before you start, just look up from the paper and smile at the audience. And the result was absolutely instantaneous. The moment he looked up and smiled, you could see the audience visibly relax. They smiled back at him. And seeing their friendly faces, his whole posture changed. His voice got stronger. By the end of those exact same 30 seconds, it was like he was a completely different person. That feedback loop totally broke the anxiety spiral. But of course, a smile isn't a magic bullet for every single moment of every presentation. And that brings us to a really important idea, the rule of congruence. Basically, your expression has to serve your message. The rule is actually really simple. Your face has to match your words. Think about it. If you're announcing some exciting news, but your face is totally flat, your audience isn't going to believe you. And if you're talking about a serious problem with a big grin on your face, you completely undermine your own credibility. Your expression is what gives your message its emotional punch. And here's a pro tip, especially for those really serious topics. If you stay somber and grave for 20 minutes straight, your audience is going to tune out. Your message just loses its power. You have to build in moments of lightness, maybe a quick story or an aside where a smile feels right. It gives the audience a chance to breathe, and it makes your serious points hit even harder.
And all of this leads to what I think is the single most empowering idea we've talked about today. The fact that as the speaker, you are fundamentally in control of the entire room. You are not just a passenger reacting to the energy in the room. You are the pilot setting the course. Your expression, whether it's one of warmth, excitement, or serious concern, is the tool you use to create the atmosphere. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. So I'll just leave you with this. Speaking is never just about transferring data from your brain to other people's brains. It's about creating an experience. The next time you stand up in front of an audience, remember that superpower you have and ask yourself, what atmosphere will you choose to create?